declines to be expected. Let's put up Dixon. Dixon is down 4.5% on decent-sized volumes coming up, right on top. So yeah, 4.5 lower, 41.99 on Dixon. I don't know if there's any specific news flow. L&T Finance down about 3.75. Tanla is down 2.5. Many, of course, reacting to numbers. Just Dial is down 2.5. KPIT is down about 2.5%. Bajaj Hindustan, Suprajit, Laopala. But again, have to give it some more time for volumes to stabilize. Axis, Tata Chem, of course, we've been talking about from the morning. There is GHCL. Again, I mean, soda ash, right? I mean, if Tata Chem is doing so well, GHCL, of course, is a pure soda ash company. That's up about 4% as well. There is Yes Bank, Chennai Petro, Canfin. I think much of it has already been mentioned, so I'll stop here at this point. Gokuldas Exports is another one which continues to do well. So Gokuldas is at about 410 now. It saw a very large move, I think, on Friday last, 3% higher once again on Gokuldas. Manish Sonthalia is our market master of the day. He's head equities PMS at Motilal Oswal Asset Management Company. Manish, great to have you with us here as always. Thank you very much for your time. Manish, you know, this is all mostly, of course, day-to-day globally driven. There is the Fed meeting decision outcome on Wednesday night. So we react to it on Thursday. Where are we at this point? I mean, is this very macro-driven, or you think, despite all of that, by the way, at least the Nifty here has not lost too much. We are barely down for the year so far. Your thoughts?
So, yeah, you know, inflation is rearing its ugly head globally, and we are also not spared. So from that point of view, I think this would be an year where protecting the downside is going to be more important than looking at some great upsides from these levels. And value will actually triumph over growth. You know, growth investing has worked very well over the last 2-3 years, specifically during the pandemic when interest rates were very low and liquidity was very benign. All of this is basically changing at the margin. And all of this actually means that there's going to be a valuation reset. So yes, India's composition of the Nifty basically implies that, you know, two sectors comprise 55 to 60% of the benchmark, and that is financials and technology. Of course, out there you have earnings comfort, because these are the two sectors which are delivering numbers. But again, out here, we are seeing valuation reset. Not so much in the banking stocks, but definitely, there is valuation reset in the technology stock. So the underlying is that if the PEG, which is the growth vis-a-vis the earnings, if it is more than 2 or 2.5 on a sustainable basis outlook for the next 2 years, there is going to be a problem on the prices holding in these sort of top-down macro conditions.
Especially on IT. I mean, people discuss earnings, but not perhaps a valuation reset, which is what we have seen. The Bank Nifty, by the way, is about to turn in the green. I mean, it's a sharp recovery led mainly by Axis. IndusInd doesn't have too much weight, and even the HDFC twins are actually seeing a bit of a recovery from the morning.
Just one thing, I was talking about Dixon, which was selling off on volumes. Just want to make a quick mention. Yeah. There is basically the news is that the Enforcement Directorate seized about 5,500 crores of deposits of the smartphone giant Xiaomi, for FEMA-related violations. Xiaomi is Dixon's largest customer in LED TVs, and it's got with a share of about 60%. So LED TV. So, I mean, and the TV segment is about 20% of Dixon's mix. So, I mean, I just wanted to sort of put the reason out in terms of why that one is the top loser with decent volumes right now. Anuj.
Okay, fair point, Prashant. Thanks for that. Manish, good morning. What about this move in HDFC twins? How you read into that? And I'm assuming that you will have as a fund manager, investments in both these stocks. What do you make of the market's reaction? First, a big reaction on the upside, and after that, continuous sort of decline.
Yeah, so I think again out here the valuations are getting reset. Now it's going to be the second largest bank in the country. But the only thing is that the timeline for the merger is basically 18 months, and your swap ratio has got locked in. So basically, the deal should have got consummated in a less time frame. That would have been better valuation comfort in terms of the growth vis-a-vis the the valuation. So valuation has got reset from 3.5 to 3. That is the pain point. Otherwise, everything seems okay. And today, broadly, you could say that most of the negatives are there in the price, even for this bank. So that's how the situation is. Nothing wrong with the merger. It could have come a bit earlier than when it was announced. There's going to be PSL drag. That is going to weigh on growth as well as NPA numbers. That's something that we need to deal with. CASA ratio is likely to come down 42 to something like 36. I mean, again, all of that is broadly there in the prices, however.
I just want to pull up the chart of Bajaj Auto. That stock is now down almost about 2% reacting to its numbers in April. Both domestic and export sales are under pressure in this month. Total sales down 20%, domestic sales down 24%, and exports down 18%. And even if you look at a monthly trend, compared to the 3.6, 3.7 lakh units that they were selling in December, Jan and Feb, the tally has fallen quite a bit in April to about 3.1 lakh, as you can see over there. So that just goes to show that overall there is pressure definitely in the sales, even domestic sales. Just look at that trend. It's been sort of falling in the last 6 months. Manish, coming on this, the two-wheeler space is seeing so many headwinds at the moment, whether it's, high ownership costs, higher fuel prices. There's this whole EV move as well. What are your thoughts here? Should one stay away entirely or should you buy into the dip, particularly in two-wheelers?
Again, out here, I think most of the negatives are there in the price of getting priced in as we speak. Rural is in distress. We know that. Two-wheeler is a direct play on the rural economy. But things, again, are looking good from a next 3-year perspective on the rural side, thanks to high agri-commodity prices and high MSP prices. We all know that, there are supply-side challenges when it comes to automobiles. And that's basically the commentary that is being talked about from the managements across the auto sector, that it's not the demand side, it's basically the supply side, which is going to be a problem. Again, marriages are happening thick and fast, and of course, two-wheelers again is a direct play on, how that plays out. There's a pent-up demand. We hear something like 42 lakh marriages happening in the next 3 months, something like that. All of that, I would believe that broadly everything negative is there in the auto space as a whole. Whether you talk about, the constraints in terms of raw material cost, or the supply side, semicon, or, the logistics and all of that. So, broadly, I would be a buyer in the auto space.
Buyer in the auto space. Manish, what other themes do you really like right now? I mean, things which you think have a decent runway with decent valuations at this point.
So, everything.
Okay, I think we lost the line there with Manish. We'll try and have him back in just a bit. Look at IndusInd, by the way. IndusInd is up almost 4%. Yeah, 4% plus now. It's at the bottom of the screen as well. 1,018 on IndusInd right now. So that is kind of a bit of a stealth move which is coming through. Numbers were decent on pretty much on all parameters. So that is doing well. There is... two stocks which sold off last couple of days, TV18 Broadcast and Network 18. TV18 Broadcast is up 4%, so there is some buying coming back on that one. It's at about 56. Of course, the channel you're watching is part of the sort of entity. There is Tata Chemicals, of course, we've been kind of highlighting. Canfin Homes is up 7%, 633. And there is Chennai Petro, which is up about 5% as well. So Varun Beverages is another one. Varun Beverages went up 10-12% on Friday. It cooled off towards close, but I think it's coming back with some gains right now as well. Numbers were very strong, 291 on Varun Beverages.
I think the other space to watch is mid-cap IT. Look at Mindtree, and it's now breaking the result day low. And the point I've been making on mid-cap IT, and some of the numbers haven't been good as well, especially on the margins, is about this whole valuation reset that's happening now. And in fact, from the high of 48.90 of 5,000, Mindtree is at now at 34.50. And I think if you see the rest of the mid-cap IT pack, you'll see some. So the more expensive ones are correcting. L&T Tech Services, for example, that's been correcting. L&T Infotech. I think Persistent is among the most expensive ones. Coforge has corrected severely. In fact, a lot of these mid-cap IT stocks are now in some kind of a bear market terrain. Manish is back with us. Manish, sorry, we did discuss IT, but since we're seeing this large move in mid-cap IT, Are you looking to buy any of these stocks that I just mentioned in this weakness?
See, the comfort on earnings is out there, and even for FY23, we are looking at high teens, let's say mid-teens sort of a dollar revenue growth. But again, out here the problem is valuation; it's not the earnings. So again, out here, if the PEG is more than 2, it's unlikely to sustain whatever the earnings may be. So I would say that it's a case of being an underweight on this sector tactically for the moment, because this sector is directly impacted in terms of valuation by whatever is happening in the US, and US is seeing big correction in big tech. So it's going to likely follow that. And from that point of view, I think it makes sense to be slightly underweight the IT space.
Okay, slightly underweight the IT space. By the way, a lot of these stocks are under a lot of pressure. This year, Coforge, for example, is down 30%. It's moved into a bear market already after what was quite a handsome year in the last one. Manish, the other space that I wanted to ask you about was, what's happening in the primary markets, because this week you have the LIC IPO that opens up, is the biggest that we've seen, the largest player, the only public sector player in the life insurance space. What is your recommendation here? Subscribe, avoid, and what do you see as the potential for this sector?
See, the size of the IPO has been cut, the valuations have been cut, and today is trading at less than 2 times price to embedded value, and that's very fair. I would believe that it's a case of a massive subscribe at current prices. We don't have anything to lose in the IPO price from where I see things, the LIC IPO, and it would be a good buy, at the IPO price.
I mean, does it do anything for other life insurance companies which are listed?
It's going to be a lot of impact. Again, most of the negatives are there in the life and health insurance companies. The problems of muted premium growths and elevated provisions. Both are going to reverse in FY23. I mean, assumption is that we don't have third wave or fourth wave of pandemic. Of course, that's basically built into the assumptions. But otherwise, valuations have corrected. Your top line is set to be at a good growth, and provisions are going to be.
Okay, Manish, we'll leave it there today. Thanks a lot for joining us. M&M's numbers should flash on the screen. M&M has taken a big lead over some of its